Well, so let's get interactive. Again, we have to tell you that we have cash out, and cash out always goes with a short code *439#. And we do encourage you, make sure that you cash out with us, because we're going to have some interesting conversations following all the analysis that has been done, Ghana tonight, and then streaming into this morning as we transition to also comprehensively look at the decision that has been made by Alan Kyerematen. And we do know he's been in the top race, if not the contending position to lead the NPP as a presidential candidate since 2007. And since that year, when he decided to concede at the time that we're supposed to have a second round at least, to Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, who we now know ultimately became the presidential candidate to lead the party to the presidency, and currently, of course, he is the president. We've since had some interesting statistics relating to how he has related or performed to the either admiration of his opponent or to his own followers within the New Patriotic Party. Why do we have this decision? And then what is the future now for Alan Kyerematen? We'll take you through the statement and then subsequently speak to some key leading officials. So this morning, we encourage you to share, not only share, but also give us your comments. Good morning to you, Money Ni Money. You're watching us from the UK, Lion Ni Lion. And subsequently also, we have Amoda Hamidu all joining us on TV3 Ghana across social media. I have Abbas Nuruddin. Abbas Nuruddin is joining us, if I can recall, for the first time. Good morning to you. How are you?
Good morning, Roland, and good morning to your cherished viewers. But this is the fourth time I've been here.
Yeah, certainly. You're joining me for the first time I met. So, and then also we have a regular on the show, hasn't been here for I think almost a month or less than a month now, but it's been a while I've seen him, but he's here. He was last on Key Points, so that also makes him a regular to our channel. We welcome him. And Alfred Thompson is a stalwart of the NPP, especially in the central region. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Roland.
Yeah.
And you're also from the central region.
Yes. So that it helps many other related subjects as well. We're all one people. Yeah. One country.
One destiny.
Okay. Thank you. Yabuabinga someone speak for Alan Kyerematen and the Alan Kyerematen campaign. He is also an individual who is very much interested in this as well. So we'll also be joined by a key person, a technical person from CDD Ghana, programs manager Paul Abrampa-Mensah will be joining us. We'll look at that. And then one of the founding fathers of the NPP, we have Dr. Nyahotamo Klo, who would describe him also as a statesman as well. He'll be joining us. So it promises to be quite interesting. But let's take you through some excerpts of the statement and then also some statistics that you need to know currently. According to Alan Kyerematen in a statement, he said that the pronouncement made by some leading members of the NPP, both before and after the election, also lend weight to his observations that a number of incidents have led to a level of intimidation of varying intensity, directly and indirectly unleashed on a significant number of delegates at various voting centers across 16 regions, which he says is unprecedented. And this is at the Super Delegates Conference of the party. Of course, we brought you some of those incidents as well. And he continues by indicating, as a result of these concerns and notable incidents, the fact that he especially had his polling agent in the Northeast region suffering severe damage to his eye, arising from his bold and courageous effort to ensure compliance with the very rules and regulations for the conduct of the elections, he's worried. And also ultimately means that there seemed to be a certain force or machination to make sure there's not transparency, not only in the past Super Delegates Conference, but also the one coming up. Because as approved by the Presidential Elections Committee, there were supposed to be some guidelines. Now let's look at how Alan has performed since he contested to be a presidential candidate of the party in 2007. And as you know, before that ultimate runoff, he polled 32% or 32.3% against Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. It led to a runoff, but he conceded. In 2010, he polled 19.91% among the delegates. And as a result of the changes they'd made to the constitution, a super delegates conference, the first time, was organized, and he polled 9.87% in that delegates conference. And then they went to the main conference itself to elect a flag bearer in 2014. And this time, instead of a 19% showing as he recorded in 2010, he reduced drastically to 4.7%. Maybe that's where the signs started coming up. What should we make of it? Knowing that at just the last super delegate conference, he polled 10.2%. Very interesting. Now, we also do know that before the event itself, there had been some concerns that had been raised. All right. And so some of these incidents led to a number of concerns that have been raised. Now, let me just give some introductory remarks to Alfred Thompson. Alfred Thompson, what do you make of this? What's because you are a Bawumia man, what's the refrain in the Bawumia camp?
Good morning, Roland. Good morning, Nuruddin. And belated happy birthday to a brother and a friend, John Hughes. He had his birthday yesterday. And because he didn't want me to enjoy some of his cake, he didn't call me over as usual. So I leave the rest to him. But I wish him the best in whatever he's doing. To start with, I would say that the Team Bawumia has open arms to anyone who wants to come and join the team. I believe that the flag bearer person I know, the doctor I know, the Dr. Bawumia I know, will definitely stretch or call Alan by now to start speaking to him to see how, if he stepped out of the race, the way he can come on board so that we all work together. Because he is someone who thinks broadly about the party, about the governance of the country, and about how things should go. So he wouldn't narrow down that, okay, if you've dropped out, then that is it. And we also, most of us, we've spoken to each other on our platforms to tell us that, listen, let us have an open arm and invite anyone who wants to join, whether Alan, whether Kennedy's person, whoever it is, should come into our fray and let's all work together, because we have a bigger task ahead of us. It's not just about the internal elections, but about the external elections and about how we can put the party at the front where Ghanaians will accept and vote for us based on the jobs and the productivity we've given out in the 8 years of our reign and the 8 years before that by the Kufuor administration. So they'll look at our performance and vote for us. So we all have to come together and work as a united force. So the arms have been opened, calls are being made, and I use this medium to invite everyone. Let's put our issues aside. Come on board, yes. Come and mention some of the things that are disturbing you. Where there should be apologies, the apologies will be given. Where there should be reconciliations will be made. But the most important thing is that we come together as a united force, as the NPP party we know. And that is what we need. So any good intended person who wants to see our party on board, we call on them to come together so we work together for the good of this party. As a candidate, I have been a candidate before, and I went for elections recently, the regional elections. And to tell you the truth, if you listen wholeheartedly to what delegates tell you, you will behave exactly like what has happened.
Meaning what?
Because they will tell you all sorts of things. They'll tell you all sorts of things just to make you happy and believe that you are going to win. And you will win convincingly. So when results come this way and you get this vote, you sit back and ask yourself, is it that what the people were saying were true? Oh, they can even tell you that, oh, this person has even called me right now. That person has called me that, oh, we should, we should just. There are so many things that go on behind closed doors.
We'll see how that goes. Now, let's speak to Mr. Abraham Mensah of CDD Ghana. He's the programs manager. Indeed, well, I've interacted with him over the years. He has to take over a decade, almost a half. He's well versed in the politics at the local government level and also tends to pick the perception as to what people think about the governance structure. Now, Mr. Abraham Mensah, for example, on our stream, there's William Kwabnabichi, who says I should ask Mr. Alfred Thompson whether the NPP is deliberately imposing Baumia on the delegates, when indeed, perhaps maybe they want Alan Kyerematen or Kenny Japan, etc. Based on the sentiments that you pick, and then also how you have observed the behavior of the party and its elders up to today, would you say there's that sense of feeling among the rank and file of the party?
Thank you very much, Roland. And as you said, anytime we discuss intra-party contests, I term it as a institutional crossroads. So it's a period that unites or disintegrates any particular institution, not only the NPP. Whether it's the constituency contest, whether it's a parliamentary contest, whether it's the national contest, as we just had. So it is a period that you expect the internal structures, internal mechanisms, including the guiding principles and legal frameworks to actually work. And you expect the national executive to uphold whatever principles there are to high esteem. So I spoke to you when the General Secretary, the lawyer, made the announcement to open for nominations. And he added that they wouldn't tolerate any of the executives and high-profile members to take sides. He expects them to be neutral and support all candidates so that the post-primaries will not be difficult for unity talks. And I congratulated him for that and cited examples of what happened during the previous administration, and especially cited my brother in Kumasi, even to me, for his actions and inactions, and even went ahead to compare voter turnouts for what happened when President Kufuor was going out and what happened in the last elections and what is expected to happen, because this is the time, a period that every political party who has served its 8 years faces the most difficult task of maintaining the seats. So I did all calculations and said that singular speech he added when he was announcing the opening of nominations to me was very perfect. But I added that I was expecting the executives to follow up, to advise in any actions against what have been stated. But that's not what we saw. We saw across the regions open support and biases. We saw across the region statements that such portrayed. I even monitored few radio programs that commentary from some of the party communicators sort of suggest that the Flagbearer House entirely was in support of one candidate. When you make such things, you are trying to say that we've pre-picked our candidates. All of you coming are useless. So any slip or mistake that comes up, it buttresses already perception of the biases against specific candidates. So, for instance, the brutalities meted against some few supporters, including one person who is in the camp of Mr. Alan Kyerematen, could be used to serve as a buttressing point for what already is in the public domain, whether alleged or real. But the statements and behavior of certain leadership of the party also support some of these things. So that is the problem that we have. I did not read in any part of Alan's statement yesterday of his next step, but I pray the attempt he made, I think in 2007 or so, that he nearly withdrew from the NPP, does not come up. And because don't forget, in Ghana here, we have had elections that a party has led or won with just around 40,000 votes. And seeing the caliber of the people in the contest, each of them will command in national sense more than 50,000 supporters. So we need, and the NPP needs every member to be part of the campaign. So that's my initial comments. But let me say that intra-party contest, especially the contest to elect a flag bearer at a period that the party has ended its 8 years and trying to renew its mandate, is the most difficult period for every political party, which needs to be managed and managed well.
Well, Abbas Noridi, now I'll bring you in because you are an outside observer. But Mr. Thompson, there were key incidents. Your home state, Cape Coast, when the incident happened, where we had a call being placed to one of the key aspirants, who of course became the second, Kennedy Japan ultimately, has become a maverick in this race, raising concerns, indicating that he was going to have a showdown. These then began to send the signals, because if you take a look at what Kennedy's camp had been saying, they had been raising concerns even before the superdelegates election, that they felt there was some level of marginalization. There were direct calls that were being made to certain key individuals within the context of the superdelegates, including those outside the superdelegates, who will be in the over 200,000 constituency list for that November election.
So, being made to who?
Directly to party chairmen, various individuals who form the chain of the delegates for the main one, as well as even some of them for the current one. We had hopes in Adoye, who even said monies were shared excessively. These
By who? All candidates, or by particular
mentioned the individuals who were at the presidency. We have the chief of staff, for example, and he was very specific. I was even at the party headquarters at the time.
There?
Yes, I was.
You saw the chief of staff sharing money?
I did see. That's what.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm saying that these are the allegations.
I'm glad you've put it on record.
Yeah, I did see.
You didn't see.
Yeah, because I wasn't close. And then
Roland,
I didn't know where they shared the money. But that's what he said.
You see, you asked a question, and I asked, you stated something that you were at the flag at the national headquarters.
I'm not a party agent.
No,
he was an agent of a key candidate. And that candidate is Alan Kyerematen, who has now decided to recuse himself from this election. And that is critical.
And you believe, trust me, and with all sincerity, that a person like the chief of staff, his teacher, will come to where elections are being held and share money to people to go and vote. You believe that?
He said monies were shared. He didn't give which locations it was shared.
And that is why I'm asking you that, did you see any money being shared there?
Are you saying?
Because his statement,
are you saying Hobson was lying?
His statement, I'm asking the general public to think about what I'm saying. As Hobson also placed something out there for people to think about. But his statement stated that monies were being shared at the grounds there for people to go and vote for a particular candidate. You were there as a reporter. Definitely, your cameras will catch so many things going on.
Where we were cordoned off, so we couldn't have seen if it was shared at any section.
I said your cameras could catch anything going on over there. You yourself, as an individual, would hear things going on.
No,
there.
I couldn't. I couldn't have.
You see, when you look at the results that even came from the from the headquarters, it tells you that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia did not get 100% there. So other agents were there. Other people were there. Other people would see things. I've never, and I always state, you know, sometimes when you go out there, the moment you get down, yesterday I was in Central Region for the launch of the, the automated premix 4 machine, which is supposed to help cut down on certain corruption going on within the premix selling and everything. I'm sure I'll have 5 minutes to talk about that before
No,
to
you will.
finish this segment.
Okay, that'll be later.
Yeah, 5 minutes. to
Exhaust
talk
the issue for me.
Before we finish this segment. That's what I'm. Oh, you can give me 5 minutes to talk about that.
I can't give you. Please
Thank you
exhaust
very
my
much.
issue for me.
So coming
saying
back to the
Hobson was
point.
lying.
Coming back to the point. What I'm stating is that people should sit down and ask themselves that I go to a center. Someone comes to see me. Oh, hey, today I've seen you. Oh, you have to give me transport to go. People do that all the time. When Jane is here, he will tell you as this thing. He goes to centers and people will see you. Oh, honorable, today, dear, because of you have to get transport and go home. If you are not careful, sometimes you feel that, oh, out of goodwill, you are giving someone something. Someone say, hey, or Jessica. They'll just come and say that, or Jessica, to go and vote for someone else because they know where your allegiance is. I wasn't at the national headquarters. I didn't go there. I was here with Alfred. And on no occasion, apart from what Hobson said, on no occasion did I hear any other candidate, any of the other 9 candidates, agents, stating categorically that they saw that they were sharing money, apart from Hobson. And I don't see that the chief of staff will go and cast a vote and be sharing money there to people that go and vote for this candidate or go and vote for that candidate. If she has a preference, I'm sure definitely, and she has friends in, she would have called them maybe sometime before that, oh, maybe you say, or if you vote for this person, is good. And that is her preference. And seriously speaking, the people can decide to vote for the person or not to vote for the person. You go to the booth alone and you vote alone. If you do your homework well, if you do your groundwork well, it's not about money sharing. Money giving transport, every political party, every candidate gives money for transport, TNT. Every person will tell you that, whether you see it as TNT or whatever it is. I have never seen in this Fourth Republic. You remember that even when the Fourth Republic started, they were sharing things like Bintua and other things to people to go and vote. But those are things that people were giving out. So I haven't seen in any elections where nobody has said that, listen, personally, I haven't given anything before. Recently,
so you're saying that it is normal. You're just affirming what
I'm
Hobson
saying
said.
that political parties and elections, every time people give out something, some goodies.
Giving them money is normal.
Some goodies. I'm not saying that is the right thing. I'm saying that they give out goodies. Ever since the Fourth Republic started. Unless maybe you were someone who was just born yesterday. But from election, right from Jerry John Rawlings when he started to date, every time goodies have been given out. And I stated in those times, it wasn't even just money. They were giving out some places. If you remember, Mami Doko came out and said, "You got to been to Ampuni idea for people to vote for J.J. Rawlings at that time."
I see.
It happened.
It's quite
And
revealing.
it hasn't changed. So we have to sit down as a country and say that, listen, how can we veer off some of these things? And you see, that is why we have someone who is always talking about digitalizing. It helps that human interface to go off. It helps that day where people will not even come there to come and vote.
I see.
But they can stay somewhere else and cast their vote. They don't need to travel down and vote. Because people flew, over 80 people flew all across the globe to come and vote.
Yeah, sure.
And people met them.
Okay.
People had meetings. As late as 1 a.m., people were meeting, the diasporans. Having dinners with them, having parties with them, talking to them, convincing them that, listen, in the morning when you go and vote for me.
Because lobbying is accepted. Other one, we don't generally know democracy.
It happens.
Now, Mr. Abraham Pamensa, before I bring you in, I want to again posit this question on this concern that was raised on the day by Yabuabin Asamoah, who will be joining us very soon. Now, if we have that inside of Yabuabin Asamoah, let's play it and then try to situate it within the decision that has been made by Alan Kwejo Kyerematen. Here is Yabuabin Asamoah.
No, let's go.
Yes, I'm saying that we have received reports that in the Northeast, voters were showing their ballots. And when our agent protested, he's been assaulted and is now in the hospital. And therefore, the Alan Kyerematen team is going to file for nullification of the Northeast regional vote, the entire vote. If that process is not followed through and the vote in the Northeast is nullified, it will contaminate the entire election results. The rules say that nobody can show a ballot that has been thumb printed. The ballots they were showing were for the benefit of the vice president. We are assuming that Tim Bawumia has instructed people to show the ballot as they go along. That is against the rules that we all set for ourselves. And if the rules are being broken with impunity, then we must take punitive action. The party says, the rules say that any ballot that ought not to be in the box is rejected. So if those ballots have gone into the box, the entire box must be rejected.
Now, Mr. Brampamensa, would you say some of these underlying incidents, well, they also precipitated the decision by Alan Kojo Kyerematen?
Sure. I read fully his statement he issued yesterday, and he catalogued a number of issues right from the petition they made, even though it was not clear in there that they centralized the voting instead of the zonal ones they did. He made mention of behavior of biases from the top membership of the NPP. He made mention of attacks on his candidates, and the particular instance that YB has cited, I think most of the media houses also mentioned it even before the counting started, that some of them, especially leading members of the political party of the NPP, after voting, openly display their thumb-printed card, or before voting, display their thumb-printed card to show which candidate has been voted for. It's not against only NPP elections, it's against electoral procedure in the country in general. So some of these things are things that you expect the party election management body to take charge of and issue statements, or because if these things happen at national level, what will the NPP say? If it happens against them, what will they say? Are they going to lodge a protest or not? So internal politics conform to the national political regulation or elections regulations. There are no exemptions. So if any of these things happen, you expect the elections management body put in place by the NPP itself to take action and issue statements or something against some of these things. But let me say that in totality, I haven't seen any of these problems that have been mentioned, including the video that showed Alan's at the northeast or so, the man who's had bruises around his faces, including his nose. I haven't seen official communication from the elections management body of the NPP, nor the executives. Sometimes in elections, when you identify some of these things and people keep silent, especially those who have responsibility tasked to manage the electoral process and handle the regulations, if they keep mute, you conclude by saying that they are indirectly supporting wrongdoings. And therefore, it was expedient, even before Alan came out, that the elections management body isolates some of these infractions and issue statements, condemn it, and also try to assure the candidates of actions that have been put in place to investigate and to correct it, even before they go to the final contest to elect the final. If these assurances are not there, if actions are not taken on some of these infractions, why do I go in again? Because if I know these things will still happen, and tacitly be supported by the people who are tasked to manage the elections and bring sanity to the process. So I think some of these things will culminate to the issuance of the statement by Alan. But if at its way we had a statement from the the tasked to manage the NPP elections and the executive in general, giving some assurances of correcting these mistakes before the final showdown comes off. I think we have been giving assurances to the people in the contest, but at its way, people will just get frustrated and think that things will be repeated in the finals, and that might happen. I'm not endorsing Alan's withdrawal, because it also have negative consequences for his future in the party. Yeah. I believe we'll come to those that arena and we'll discuss thoroughly. But as of now, I think I haven't seen a good work from the NPP's elections management committee.
Yeah, and I sense that you also use the word showdown. So you borrowed that from Kenneth Japon's lexicon. You've been influenced
not a showdown,
by
not a showdown as to what kind was actually
Very interesting. Very interesting.
yeah, but it showed that the final election to elect the actual flag bearer, what happened was just to sieve the number to, as per the new constitution regulation of the NPP, to the 5 as they have set up.
Great.
I think it came from the background of the numerous contestants around 19 that was held in Legon, and that became unwieldy. I think it's following from that they did review their constitution and now have had strategies to see the candidate to a certain manageable number. So this is the actual contest. In fact, when you ask me, I will say, even though they are all internal contest, the first contest was just, let me say, preliminary interviews to select the actual contestants to the elections. If this prelims produce such unhealthy contest, what then do you expect from the final contest? That's why it was expedient on the committee put in place to manage the elections to have taken a bit of actions.
Okay. And we decided to bring Abbas Nuruddin here, who is the communication officer for the NDC in the Ashanti region. If you look at the role that the Ashanti region has been playing the last couple of elections we've had, especially influencing the voting pattern at the national level, you will know that the NDC also will be worried about the voter population in there. Now, Abbas Nuruddin, you take a look at the sentiment you pick on the ground in the Ashanti region. You also put into perspective how Alan foretells what could portend in that bigger delegates conference in November, and then also the main election, by saying, the question I keep asking myself is, and he puts it in quotes, how did we get here as a party in the first place, and how far are we prepared to tread on this dangerous path to self-destruction? Well, what do you make of this?
Roland, let me say warm good morning to viewers out there. I would say what is happening in the NPP should be a great source of concern to all who are cherishers of our democracy, because in a matter of just 2 weeks, two of NPP's main political stalwarts have had to withdraw from their presidential primaries, citing very oppressive and undemocratic tendencies. The first one was Wachie Jakun, you remember?
Yes.
And now Alan Kyerematen. And for me, I think the NPP is on a perilous journey towards self-implosion. And if that self-implosion occurs, it may well put the NPP out of sight and back into the political wilderness for like 20 or 30 years. And in saying so, in saying so, I make reference to the antecedent of the UP tradition. You know, anytime there have been this kind of deep cracks, that leads to a breakaway. And by the way, there is a possibility of a new party emerging out of the NPP. That is the intel we are picking. And anytime...
How did you draw that conclusion?
They say vindication is in the womb of time. Wait, you would get to... Mr. Alan gave indication that he will announce his political future. So let's wait and see what happens. So, like I was saying, I make reference to the antecedent of the UP tradition, that anytime a political party has emerged out of it, they go into the political wilderness for like 20 or 30 years. And a typical example is the 1979 election. You know, the UP presented itself in the form of the Popular Front Party. And after their primaries, Victor Owusu, Reku Brobe's uncle, emerged. One of the best politicians in Ghana from the Ashanti region. And interestingly, some elements within cited similar undemocratic practices that led to the formation, that led to a breakaway and the formation of the UNC. And do you know one of the major champions of the breakaway political party, our current president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo? He led his uncle, William Oforiatta, the father of Ken Oforiatta, to form the UNC. Then the UP tradition, the two fronts they presented, lost the election to Hila Liman, and they stayed in the political wilderness for 30 years. So what is happening now could be history playing out. And it is very interesting that Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, who led the formation of a new political party in 1979 due to undemocratic practices, is now spearheading similar instances, similar occurrences. And it goes to prove what we have been saying, that Nana Addo is the exact opposite of everything he has been sold to Ghanaians to be.
How did you draw that conclusion?
He was said to be an anti-corruption campaigner. Can he say that now? Now he has turned out to be the clearing agent for corruption. He was said to be a defender of human rights. Look at the human rights violations that had gone on under his watch. He was said to be a defender of rule of law. Look at the institutional bastardization, deliberately infiltrating independent state institutions with political cronies just to do his bidding. And Roland, I don't know whether you've paid attention to this. Ever since Nana Addo became the leader of the NPP has kind of morphed from a political party run on democratic principles into some mafia kind of organization.
Mafia?
I'm telling you, I'm coming there. Which is run on the whims and caprices of the grand mafia Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. You know, I'm coming. At the initial stages, you see, when Nana Addo became leader of the New Patriotic Party and some of these undemocratic tendencies started emerging, some voices of conscience in the NPP started mounting resistance. Like Kwabena Japan, the General Secretary, Sami Krab, the then National Vice Chairman, and Paul Afoko, the National Chairman. They started mounting some resistance. But Nana Addo used some brute and unorthodox method to crush them, and in so doing, got some stranglehold over the NPP and muzzled out all dissenting political views within the NPP, including the Kufuor, I should round up, including the Kufuor faction, of which Alan is a by product. So you see, Roland, we in the NDC is not gloating over the unfortunate happenings in the NPP, because we know that the NDC is going to win the 2024 elections, not on the weaknesses or seeming disintegration of the NPP. The NDC is going to win the 2024 election on its own steam and strength. The NDC is going to win the 2024 election because it has a credible, a competent leader in the person of John Dramani Mahama. The NDC is going to win the 2024 election, Roland, because we have the master plan to help this country recover from the current economic abyss that is at its point into. It is in this regard, Roland, let me say this.
Okay, we've been joined by, no, I'm not cutting you.
It is in this regard.
I see you have a litany, so we'll do that. But we've been joined on the phone by a leading founder, or one of the key founders of the New Patriotic Party, and Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo is also a regular on the channel. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo, did you see this coming? Did you see the warning signs on the wall?
Yes, I did. And
that's your question.
Firstly, I would say it is very, very unfortunate. Very, very unfortunate for this to have happened to the party at this time. I believe strongly the problems the party is facing at the moment, one is from the formation of the so-called militia from the beginning. This particular group totally destroyed the democratic pillars of our party. In fact, initially we thought it was working in our favor. We have seen from different countries what the militia did. The example of Adolf Hitler is there. The example of Mussolini is there, and many others. They can work for a time and then destroy the very party that brought them into existence. Because they come with nothing than intimidation, indiscipline, being defensive on almost any issue, and it's friends like that. But the sad thing is that Alan, to me, has been stabbed in the back by the NPP. And that is very sad. Because when I look at those who want to be president of the country at the moment, he's the only one who stands tall among them. He's the only one I can say have got democratic credentials. He's the only one I believe strongly. A lot of people, if he intends running as an independent candidate, would definitely like to try him. Now, why do I say the party has been destroyed? We have a lot of new faces in the party who daily come on the airwaves to defend the indefensible. It is very disheartening. This party has always got a succession plan. Let me go through that briefly. And that brings the point about Alan being stabbed in the back. And it is unfortunate that is being done by my friend Nana Akufo-Addo. Now, when we came out of the wilderness during the era of Jerry John Rawlings, one thing was quite clear, that we have to get somebody who was that popular at that time, so that we can have a strong political front against Rawlings' party. Now, those of you who have gone a bit back into history will remember that we went into the 1978-79 elections as a divided front. We had the UNC, we had the PFP. UNC led by Mr. William Oforiatta, that's the old man, not Jones Oforiatta. People have been confusing the two things. Jones is very, very junior to William. Then the Popular Front Party being led by Mr. Victor Owusu. Now, these two parties had a similar problem. So the so-called Buzia front that was left was fragmented. And then we came out with these two parties. Now, during the election, it was quite clear. They gave way, and late President Liman had it very easy. Now, after that, then we got ourselves together. Edubuahin was so strong in presenting to the nation at that time, because that was an era where you can hardly talk. I was then in prison, myself, Kwame Pienim. I remember very well. Kwame came out, he reorganized, and within a short time, the pillars were put together, and everybody was for Edubuahin because of his outspoken attack on the Rawlings party at that time. We went into a general, internal elections like we are doing now. Edu won hands down. But one young man then, who was J.A. Kufuor, did very well. Now, the second time when we were going in for an election again, some of us decided that Edu cannot carry the party through, so we should try Kufuor. Kufuor was really tried. He won, but he was defeated by J.J. Rawlings. Then the second time for Kufuor, he won hands down. Now, when Kufuor won hands down, we also the need to come together again strongly, together with other opposition groupings. We shouldn't forget that. And that gave us power after almost 32 years in the wilderness. So I would say that Alan leaving the party at this time, not the party, sorry, Alan leaving the what do you call it, the group at this time has weakened the democratic pillars of the party. And if we are not careful, the party will be totally destroyed, and we shall find ourselves back in 1978, 1979. So this is what I would say so far. I can't hear you, please.